I like to see the police 831.
Yes, I like to put a murder, a dead body, or something.
Where at?
In the alley.
You probably still play your Nintendo 3DS if you're watching this video, and honestly, I have too. The Nintendo 3DS has just been discontinued. It's been 4 years as of creating this video since the Nintendo Switch has been released, yet honestly, in these past 4 years, I have probably still ended up playing more 3DS than I have Switch. I love the Switch and have many games, and I feel the 3DS still at this time has something more to offer for someone like me. I treat my Switch more as a home console and play it docked 90% of the time. I love handheld gaming and I love the fact that the Switch is what it is, but there's something about the 3DS that just draws me to it more. Maybe it's the backwards compatibility and virtual console. Maybe it's the portability. I think what interests me the most is the custom firmware and homebrew scene and everything we've accomplished. I can do a lot more on my Nintendo 3DS systems than I can on my Switch at this time. I mean, maybe not. I don't have a hacked Switch at the moment, but this is basically just a showcase of everything that I can do on my Nintendo 3DS and what I do on my 3DS. This isn't like a how to do this or how to do that. This is more of just a showcase of like what I do on my 3DS. Here, let's just check it out. Now I have 4 different 3DS systems. I originally in 2013 purchased a 3DS XL model. I got the limited edition Pokemon X one because that was the game that I got for my birthday that year. I was 15 and I was like, let's get fucking Pokemon, hell yeah. No regrets, man. That is still to this day my favorite, not my favorite generation of Pokemon, but when I look back, games are more fun when you're playing with your friends, and during that time I was doing a lot of competitive Pokemon and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's the best generation, but definitely was very fun to jump from 2D to 3D and play with all my friends and truly get into the competitive and shiny hunting scene. But honestly, I still think that Sword and Shield are great and Let's Go is what it is, but the Nintendo 3DS Pokemon games are still my favorite, and I can play all of the other Pokemon games on my 3DS. So why would I don't know. I like playing Pokemon Sword and Shield, don't get me wrong, but I feel I spend more time on the older games, and I know a lot of other people do too, but there's a lot of things that I do on my DS other than just Pokemon. Anyway, I use these, my original 3DS XL and the other one that I have because when my cousin was done playing with his, I just got his second hand. He didn't use it anymore, so he just gave it to me, and it's kind of frustrating because I got the limited edition X one, and I wish he would have got the limited edition Y one, but no, he wanted the same exact one. So I have 2 limited edition Pokemon X Nintendo 3DS XL original systems, and then I also have a new 2DS that I just bought this summer with the intention of hacking it when I saw that it was only $100. Right now is definitely the time to buy because eventually the price will go up now that they're not producing these things anymore. It is definitely the best budget handheld. I would recommend this over all of those Chinese game consoles that you get on like Alibaba and shit like that. I know there's 100 YouTube videos about all of these dedicated handheld systems for emulation, but the thing is, honestly, if you're going to do any of that, you're probably better off just doing it for your bang for your buck. Just buy a new 2DS XL because right now, 2021, while I'm recording this, they are only $100. They were last summer too. It's great value, and honestly, the 2DS is probably the one you're going to want to go for unless you're really into the 3DS. Like I also have a limited edition Pokemon Sun and Moon new 3DS XL, but honestly, for a daily driver, that's just overkill, but I wanted that more for like collecting purposes, and I'm really into Pokemon, and I did really like Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. But I use all of my different 3DS systems for different things. I typically use the 2 older systems as backups, and then the certain save files that are on those systems I will revisit, such as like Pokemon Crystal and stuff that I have soft copy. But on my newer systems, they're hacked, so I just sideload anything that the fuck that I want onto them. And you can take a 128 gigabyte SD card and with software on your computer, format it to FAT32 because Windows doesn't support that anymore. But basically, if you jump through some hoops, you can get much more storage than what it allows. I think the 3DS only allows for 32, if not 64 gigabytes of storage. I think it's just 32, like through micro SD card expansion. But I have 2 128 gigabyte SD cards in 2 of my, one in each. One in my 2DS and one in my new 3DS XL. But both of those are hacked, and basically, I just sideloaded everything that the console has to offer onto that, plus thousands of ROMs. You can also use the virtual console emulators that Nintendo uses to run games like through their virtual, like if you go on the eShop, there are virtual console games, all right? Those are all running through an emulator through custom firmware, you can use the Nintendo-made emulators on your system and sideload a game that wouldn't have been released for 3DS, such as like Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Those were never released on the eShop, but we can easily sideload them onto the Nintendo 3DS through custom firmware, homebrew, FBI, all of that kind of. Shout out to Stedix. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your YouTube name, but that guy is the shit. Check his videos out if you want to know how to hack your 3DS console. An update will come out, and then like 20 minutes later, this guy uploads a video. Nintendo thinks that they can fucking stop me from hacking their consoles. Nah way, bro. This is how you do it. And then he just releases that. It's the shit. Nintendo every once in a while will release an update that'll just break custom firmware, but 20 minutes later, this dude is just like, nah, this is how you fix that. This guy, he's on it. Enough dick riding, but I'll throw some source links in the description. I'm not currently looking at the footage that you guys are seeing. I'm just recording this beforehand, so it might not sync up with the video 100%. But there are so many different advantages to using custom firmware. If you're buying a 2DS or a 3DS in 2021 and you're not hacking it, you must have a super large library of games, or you must just love spending tons of money. Now, I'm not advocating piracy, but I love sailing the 7 seas every once in a while to catch my drift. I know you can also do a lot of these things on Nintendo Switch, as Nintendo hasn't really been updating that nearly as much as they have in the past with other consoles like their 3DS and Wii, and even, I never had a Wii U, but I know you can do a lot of things on there that you can't even do on your Switch today. But you can through custom firmware. Things like themes and splash screens. I have my 3DS is set up, both of them, to shuffle different themes every time I go back into the menu. Custom themes that you can download off the internet, which is pretty dope if you ask me. I even have like a Windows XP theme. I made my friend ordered the same limited edition 3DS that I did, the Sun and Moon one. And for Christmas, I sideloaded a bunch of content onto it and did the custom firmware. And I set up a bunch of really trolly themes on it. So I made it like the Windows XP splash screen and like the PlayStation splash screen, and then there's one where it's like the oh shit it's that boy, oh shit what up, the frog meme, dude. He's rolling in like he's a Smash character. There's tons of really funny themes that you can get. Aside from themes and side loading games, I know that there is a lot of homebrew software. I have not yet installed any of this, but I will definitely be doing follow-up videos in the future of different things like this. I know that people have ported Mario 64 to the 3DS, and apparently it's widescreen and is even better than the Mario 3D All-Stars version that had released on the Switch today. I don't really have a desire to buy that game because I am really into emulation, and I just have an NVIDIA Shield where I can play pretty much all of those games just fine. Also, we'll have Android TV videos coming soon. I know that people ported over the game Half-Life even onto the 3DS. I definitely want to check that out. I personally like playing lots of Pokemon ROM hacks because obviously you would not be able to get these games onto official hardware without something like an R4, without hacking your system itself. And in the past I played them just on emulators on PC or on my Android phone, but now it feels so good to be able to play games like Pokemon Light Platinum, Flora Sky, Glazed, Gaia, Red Adventures, Prism, all of these games that I like even more than some of the main series Pokemon games on my actual handheld system. It feels great. Also, the Nintendo 3DS, 2DS has such good battery life. I can play that fucker all day. I have 4 of them. I must really like the 3DS. I spend a lot of time at my camp. I live in a really rural area of Michigan, and we spend a lot of time out in the fucking woods. What happens when it gets nighttime and other people are doing shit that you don't want to be doing? Just play your 3DS. What happens when you wake up early in the morning and all your motherfuckers aren't up yet and doing stuff and you don't want to bother them? Just sit on the couch and play your 3DS. Wait for motherfuckers to get up, and then you can go outside and do all your camp stuff. What if the bitch wants to watch 90 Day Fiancé or do some shit that you want to do, and you want to be there for her, but not really? You just want to like pretend like you're bonding with her or doing something. You just gotta sit next to her to be present. You don't gotta actually be present. You just whip out that 3DS. Bam. You're playing Pokemon. All of a sudden, she's having a great time. You're having a great time. Nobody's worried about shit. Colty's finessing these bitches on 90 Day Fiancé. Life is just fucking swell. Now, I can understand it being the pandemic and most people staying at home. They're playing their main console, whether it be their PlayStation or their Switch or whatever it is, just add a TV. But there is reason to want a handheld still. And this shit ain't gonna last forever. Sometimes I'd be sitting at the desk watching anime and I'll have like 4 3DS systems pulled up at once, all shiny hunting at the same time, and I'll be just grinding out shinies, man. Sometimes I'll have a bunch of friends over and we'll all want to play Mario Kart. Or sometimes I'll just be wanting to trade Pokemon with myself or something between systems. There's great reasons to have multiples. Again, if you're going to invest in a 3DS, 2DS and you don't already have one, which is probably surprising if you're watching this video. I assume you probably do already have one, but if you want another one, man, that new 2DS XL, that is a fucking steal, man. You can load thousands of games on that bitch, and if you don't even like some of these 3DS games, you can load Sega Genesis, Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Master System, MS-DOS games. Fucking, there's so much shit you can put on there. I know it can play Nintendo 64 games and PlayStation 1 games. I have not sideloaded either of these yet because I play those on my NVIDIA Shield. I have their entire console library hooked up to a 6TB hard drive expansion, just with fucking 17,000 games on it plus. If you want to play your Nintendo 64 games or your fucking PlayStation 1 games on the go, you can do it. I definitely want some Symphony of the Night and some Croc on my Nintendo DS, so I'm definitely going to be experimenting with that in the future. Another thing is like the scene behind the homebrew scene and everything, and custom firmware and all this. All these people are still actively developing stuff every day. New updates for the shit comes out. The games run better and better. It's not, at this point, I don't know if it's a matter of horsepower as it is just a matter of good software emulation, but the shit plays well. Apparently, Nintendo 64 games run really well on the 3DS. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm sure they do. I know that PS1 games, it depends, but I think that there's like a certain file type you want to convert your ROMs to in order for them to play better. I don't have experience with this. We'll have videos on that in the future. What I mainly do on my 3DS is I play a lot of older games like Nintendo, like Super Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games, mostly, honestly though, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, because I use it mostly as an RPG machine or like a Pokemon machine overall. My Sun and Moon 3DS XL, new 3DS XL, I use that one primarily for RPGs and things of the sort. And then my 2DS XL, I use more for like platformers and things like that. My Mario games, my Yoshi's Island, my Metroids, I don't know, I play Castlevania on both, I guess. I'm a fan of those games. But if I'm playing my limited edition Sun and Moon 3DS, I'm mostly playing Pokemon games or ROM hacks or just the 3DS cartridges that I already have. Now, if you don't know what an R4 card is, you should look that up. But before you look that up, you should definitely look up Twilight Menu. Now, basically what Twilight Menu is it's just an R4 card built into your DS. The 3DS systems have the ability, through backwards compatibility, can play Nintendo DS games. Now, what Twilight Menu is, now there's also RetroArch for emulation, but Twilight Menu you can also emulate your games through. You can play Nintendo DS games right through it. Basically, you can sideload any Nintendo DS game that you would ever want right into Twilight Menu like it's an R4 card. Again, I use this mostly for the older Pokemon games like Soul Silver, Heart Gold, but there was a huge leak last year, and it basically was source code for tons and tons of Nintendo shit, including betas of games. And it basically just laid out the framework for how all of these games work. And if you play ROM hacks, you know that 90% of ROM hacks are in Gen 3, and then a bunch of them are in Gen 2 as well, but there are not many Gen 4, 5 ROM hacks. I know there are ones that are 3DS based, and those are sideloadable onto your 3DS as well, like Pokemon Star and things of the sort, but there aren't a lot of DS ROM hacks. Well, that's about to change, because we know how these DS games work now, and how they're built. I'm in a Discord chat full of people that's just basically about DS ROM hacking. And there's even ROM hacks of these Mystery Dungeon games coming out soon too. But actively in development right now, you gotta think about this. So many people are at home and they don't got shit to do, including all the people that made those ROM hacks back in the day, and people who wanna make ROM hacks now. In short, what I'm trying to say is, there's gonna be a lot of Nintendo DS ROM hacks coming out soon. Now, if you've ever played Pokemon Light Platinum, the Game Boy Advance ROM hack of Ruby, there is in active development right now. I follow the guy on Twitter, I think his name is like Wesley FG or something. But anyway, dude is making a remake of Pokemon Light Platinum, one of the best ROM hacks in the Heart Gold Soul Silver engine. I believe it's over Heart Gold. And you can play some of this right now, and it is fucking phenomenal. It's spectacular. Another thing that's active development right now is Pokemon Platinum. They're remastering it to have Gen 5 graphics, and that's just fucking sick. I'm all about that. I was really into ROM hacks when I was younger, and we might even do a Let's Play on this channel one day, but I don't revisit any games the way that I revisit Pokemon games, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this video can relate. And to own a 3DS or a 2DS or an Android phone or whatever the fuck it is that can play it, ROMs, it means so much more now, because games might not be coming out actively from Nintendo, but there's such a fan base that games will continuously be coming out for the next 10, even maybe 20 years, who knows? Looking at the way that people are going back and remodding Game Boy Advance systems and Game Boy Color systems or original DMGs, changing their shells and doing all this cool stuff, there's obviously a huge fan base around Nintendo products. And just because a product is discontinued doesn't mean you're just stopping people from playing it or doing stuff with it. Lots of people still have this hardware, and I am certain that within the next 5-10 years, maybe 20, whenever they consider the DS retro, there's going to be a lot of new different mods. I know that there's mods of the DS Lite where people will take like the top screen off and then just have it be like a Game Boy or whatever the situation is. But all I'm trying to say is that the Nintendo DS or 3DS is a gold mine of a fucking console. Thousands and thousands of DS, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, all that other shit that I listed before, all available in your pocket. And the file size of all of these games is so small that if you just get 128 gigabyte SanDisk micro SD, whatever the fuck, format that bitch and stick it in there, you will still have so much room for more games. You could load the entire 3DS console library on one of those fucking cards, I'm sure. I have 90% of, I don't know, I have the good stuff anyway. I have it all organized by folders and stuff like that. I'm sure that you've seen that footage on the screen by now. And it might look like I have a lot of stuff, but honestly, there's so much more that I could still add. Remember on the DSi when everybody played Flipnote? Well, when the 3DS was popping, the Flipnote 3D had released in Japan, but it hadn't released in America. So we didn't get to use that, and it's kind of a shame because that was hype as fuck back in the day when everybody would be on the Flipnote Nintendo making little stick figure animations to Linkin Park music and shit like that. But America never really got to have that scene blow up again through Flipnote 3D, and it's a shame because it did release in the 3DS's later years, but I feel people weren't really into it like the way that they were on the DSi. All I'm trying to say is there's a lot of software on the 3DS aside from just games and things like that, things that you can do. Through custom firmware, I know that you can load media onto it too, so if you wanted to have like a movie or music or any of that kind of shit on there and you only want to carry around one device, say you're like I said, say you're going to camp or on a trip or something like that, it's nice to just have an all-in-one system like that. And the 3DS is just a vibe, honestly. I mean, I can see the direction that Nintendo is going with the Switch and stuff like that, but I just like the aesthetic of the 3DS as well, the software and the sounds, and it just reminds me of a happier time. And it really, people describe Nintendo games as being evergreen titles, as they can just charge $60, like these Switch games like Mario Kart 8 that came out on the Wii U, and it's been out for years, but they can still charge $60 for it. I would consider the 3DS to be an evergreen console. I mean, they're not going to continue selling these things forever, but all I'm trying to say is like that shit is not going to run out. You're gonna constantly be getting more content on that than you could ever consume. You could put so many games on there that you don't even know what to do, and honestly, sometimes I have that problem where I'm just staring at a million games and I'm like, where do I fucking start 10 games and get an hour into them and just go to another game. But honestly, you can't get bored with that. It's nice not having to switch cartridges back and forth. The 3DS is the ultimate RPG machine. I mean, there's so many good 3DS RPGs, there's so many DS RPGs. You have the ability to go to all of those older consoles. PlayStation 1 had tons of good RPGs, Super Nintendo, so many good platformers, all of everything that I just said. Games that I've been playing recently are Yoshi and Poochie's Woolly World, because I have Crafted World on Switch and it's great. Haven't completed it because I loaned it to a friend a couple months ago, went to jail, got out, and just haven't gotten it back from him yet. But he's straight. He'll come bring it back soon. I'd rather somebody be getting use out of that shit if I'm behind bars anyway. It's like I got all this shit. As long as you're not ruining it, you might as well use it. Because I'm a fucking criminal. But I do like my Pokemons, my Kirby's, my Castlevanias, you know. No, I don't have every model of 3DS. My brother had the original 3DS when it first came out. I never got the 2DS when it came out. I skipped it and I got the XL when it came out. And then a couple years later, after I decided I want to hack one of these things, I got my new 3DS XL as I saw that the Switch was coming out, and I assumed that eventually it would be discontinued, and the price is going up for this limited edition, but I just wanted to secure the bag before it wouldn't be possible anymore, or would cost a fuckload of money. DS systems that I want to get, I want to get the DS Lite that was limited edition for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. My cousin, who gave me this other Pokemon X one, used to have that when he was a kid. I doubt he still has that now, but I know that they're not really that expensive right now, and I'm sure that they're going to go up in price when the Diamond and Pearl remakes are announced, because we know that's going to happen, and if it doesn't fucking happen, I'm going to slap my dick across fucking Junichi Masuda's face, or Ken Sugimori, or whoever the fuck runs Pokemon now, I don't remember. Give us Diamond and Pearl remakes, and don't make them Let's Go games, and don't make them shitty like Sword and Shield, and give us back fucking Megas. I'm not asking for a lot. Nobody likes that Gigantamax shit. Z moves were fucking weak, but at least you still let us Mega Evolve in that game. You can't just give us a ton of features. You know what? I'm not going to keep ranting about this. Let's go back to the 3DS. You used to be able to watch Netflix on your 3DS. I don't know if YouTube still works, but you can't even watch Netflix on your Switch without hacking that bitch. You got Hulu, but I don't use any of those streaming services. I use fucking Cat Mouse and Free My TV and Mobdro and all that shit on the hacked Android TV thing. That's for another video. I want to get the original 2DS and the original 3DS, but it's like, they're really easy to find cheap, and getting any of these systems secondhand is super easy and cheap. They're fucking everywhere. Everyone has a 3DS or had a 3DS or a DS. Yeah, I want to get a 2DS. You can get those for like $40. I mean, some of them new for like $50-$60. It's crazy. And you could frisbee that bitch at a wall and it's not gonna break. I've seen it done. Can't say the same about the clamshell models, but the 2DS was initially designed for jits. They do have some cool limited edition ones though. When they released Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the Virtual Console, that's pretty dope. If they would have done it for Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I would have been on that like flies on horseshit. We'll get them one day. They're not going to be too expensive. It's fucking 2DS. But it doesn't matter, dude. Any of these systems, you can do everything that I'm showing you on. There's so much possibilities, and I've only scratched the surface. It looks like I have a lot of content here, but there's so much more for me to do. You have such great RPGs. You got Shin Megami Tensei, I haven't played yet. You got Yokai Watch, I started number 2, and it's actually pretty fucking good. All those Pokemon games, they're so good. Dragon Quest. I've been playing this Dragon Quest Monster Joker 3, a game that was never released in the US. You can do that on custom firmware. It's not region locked. There's fan translations. It's fucking amazing. It's like Dragon Quest Pokemon. I actually haven't even opened my DS since spouting off. I'm just staring out at Audacity, and I'll throw this behind the footage, but I should probably crack that bitch open right now and look at some stuff for reference. You ready for the ear rape? Oh, love that Velcro. Got them zipper cases, the Velcro case I was using when I was busting down the lighter over those foilies trying to get another rip of that boy. It's covered in dirt, can't get it off. Such a nice Pokemon case. Why did I do that? I'm a junkie. Opening this up right now, like this shit just feels good in my hands. I'm opening up the 2DS right now, and it has like this matte feel, and like honestly, it's plasticky, but it doesn't seem cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. It's $100 cheaper, but it doesn't feel like the drawbacks are, what do you lose? Like the 3D gimmicky feature that was used in a couple games and looked cool, and that in the later games wasn't even implemented at all. Back to games I've been playing. Kirby's Epic Yarn. Games I want to play. Planet Robot, I heard it was really good. Triple Deluxe I want to try because I really enjoyed Superstar Ultra on 3DS and the original Superstar on Super Nintendo, both of which I have on this handheld. The Metroid Samus Returns is something I've been getting into. Castlevania Mirror of Fate is something I've been getting into. I played a little bit of Donkey Kong Country Returns. I heard Tropical Freeze is really good if you got that on Switch. Again, Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. Fucking amazing, and makes everybody hated this Yoshi's New Island. I played the original Yoshi's Island, and that's one of my favorite platformers, probably my favorite 2D platformer, other than Terraria to this day, if you consider Terraria that. Terraria is everything. Also available on the 3DS. Fucking amazing. Not as good as the PC or console variant, but still its own version of the game that is cool to look at if you're into Terraria. Also, they have shit like Binding of Isaac and other weird PC-style indie games on here. Mario Maker, Mario 3D Land. I'm looking at the platformer DS, not what you're looking at, but Mario Kart if you have a bunch of friends. Shantae, fucking Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, I think is one of the weird games that they released after the Switch was out anyway, which is like a spin-off of, I don't know. Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon looks fucking great. A lot of these games, like I played only Pokemon for the first like 5 years of having a 3DS, and going to these other like games in the library, the only game that I had was like A Link Between Worlds, which is fucking amazing. There's tons of good Zelda games on this too. I didn't even mention that yet. But this Castlevania game looks like it could be on Switch. I know that they ported some 3DS games over to Switch already, like Resident Evil Revelations and things like that. But I also play a lot of these older virtual console games. Like I love playing Genesis games on here, like Toe Jam and Earl and Toe Jam and Earl 2. It's great shit. I got the new one for Switch too. It's pretty good. And obviously, if you have a Switch, enjoy your fucking Switch. I'm not trying to be dissing on the Switch. The Switch is fucking amazing. But I have a PS5 too, so if I can get a game that's on both systems, I'm definitely getting it on PlayStation. I love PlayStation. There's so many great games on Switch that you could play. Like the eShop on Switch probably has, because it has mobile games and shit too, it's got a ridiculous amount of content, more than the 3DS would, I guess. But I feel like there's a lot of shovelware dipped in there, and to find as much good content is like, I don't know what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, Nintendo 3DS is the shit, Nintendo 2DS is the shit, and if you don't have one, you're missing out. I live way up north, and motherfuckers be out in the ice shacks all the time, and When I was a kid, I would play Mystery Dungeon in my iShack all the time. Every time I boot up that new Mystery Dungeon DX remake, I think about when I was playing Blue Rescue Team on my DS Lite in my dad's iShack, and the nostalgia, bro. I also got that new Super Mystery Dungeon that's on 3DS. I haven't even played that one yet. I heard it's a lot better than at Gates to Infinity, which got a lot of shit. But after that, we never thought we'd get a Mystery Dungeon game again. I really hope that they remake Time and Dark Sky for Switch. That would be great. But again, like I said, if you're thinking about getting a new handheld, and that's why you're watching this video, definitely I would not go for one of those Chinese gaming handhelds. I mean, I don't really own one, so I can't really speak for them. I had the Xperia Play back in the day, and that was Android based and was fucking amazing. So I'm looking at these new things like the Odroid and things like that, and there are lots of really good Android games and things that you can do with the Android operating system. So if you're really into that, go for it. But if you're just looking to play like Nintendo games or games that were on your old console and it's really only just for emulation and you're not, I don't know, I guess you don't get like emulator shaders and different hacks like that, running these through RetroArch or the Virtual Console or Twilight Menu or whatever your preferred method is. But just having, how do I put it into words? The UI is great. You're in that console environment. Nintendo feel all over everything. There's not a bunch of bugs. You can save state and do a lot of the other things that you could do through emulation on other devices. I think it is really just you can't really find a Vita out in the wild right now like easily that's cheap, and if you can, fucking send one my way, because I don't have a Vita and I'm a PlayStation fanboy over Nintendo, honestly. But I would say the 3DS is definitely your best bang for your buck in a handheld that you could get today. Looking at this other 3DS, things I forgot to mention like Animal Crossing New Leaf. Obviously everybody's playing New Horizons right now. But there are things that you can do in New Leaf, like pixel art and things, and transfer them over to your New Horizons game. And it's just cool to go look back at a game like this that has so much content and to just have it in your pocket like that. Like, the Switch is a handheld, yeah, but it's not really like something you carry around in your pocket, even if it's a Switch Lite. We both know that. Other games I'm excited to play, again, like Yokai Watch 3, I want to get into, and I want to go back to the original, because I am playing Yokai Watch 2, and it's pretty fucking good. I love just going to the store, seeing 3DS games on the shelf. I don't know if this is still really a thing, because I haven't been to I was in jail for quite some time, and it's a pandemic, so it's like, I don't really go to the store. I mean, I got an ankle monitor on and shit, but last time I went to the store, which was probably like 9 months ago, fucking crazy, I know. There was 3DS games on the shelf. I saw WarioWare Gold there, and I saw Yokai Watch 2, and I was with my girlfriend, and I was like, bitch, when we get home, I'm not buying that game. I'm gonna take a picture of it on my phone right now, go home, download that CIA file, and then I'm gonna just play it. Because we hood rich, motherfucker. It's better to think with your brain than with your wallet. I don't know if that made sense. There's so many good pick up and play games too, where it's like if you don't want to get into a huge RPG or anything like that, you can just throw on some fucking, I play a lot of Pokemon Pinball. We got Mario Maker in here, the new Super Mario Bros. 2. There's even a version of Minecraft for the new 2DS XL. There's some games that are new 2DS and 3DS branded exclusive games. Now, if you have a 3DS and you're not familiar with the new 2DS and 3DS, just think of it back in the day when you had a DS. They came out with the DSi. That's just like an upgraded hardware model for your, like, say you have a PS4, you get that PS4 Pro. That's basically the experience you're getting out of this. And honestly, when they come out with the new Switch model, I think it's literally going to be called not the Switch Pro, but the new Switch, knowing that the way that Nintendo works. But who knows, Nintendo does different shit every time, so we're definitely getting an upgraded hardware model though this year. They do it with every single one of their systems. That's a handheld anyway. Your Game Boy Advance, and you had your SP, you had your DS, and you had your DSi, you had your 3DS, and you had your 2DS, and then you had your new 3DS and 2DS. I mean, it just makes sense. You've heard the idea of a Switch Pro be shoved down your throat a million times by now. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But again, aside from all the great 3DS games, there's just so much content. And if there's anything that I forgot, I mean, I'll come back. But I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about this. The 3DS is fucking amazing. There's no reason to not have one. I mean, if you're into video games and you got some cheddar in your pocket, because there's so many good games on this. I mean, I know that Bravely Default 2 is coming out soon. If you want to go back and play the original, I mean, 3DS is where it's at, man. If you want to play some fucking Vector Man on Genesis, play some Super Mario Land on Game Boy, play some Pokemon Crystal on Game Boy Color, if you want to play the original Zelda on NES, if you're into Master System and whatever the fuck is on there, be my guest, bro. The 3DS is your medium for great handheld gaming, great battery life, great durability. I mean, honestly, it just fucking works. I got Mother 3 on this bitch. I like Earthbound, so maybe we'll play through both of those. Again, the fan translations of games that were never released. Custom firmware is the shit. Nintendo 3DS is fucking awesome, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out my channel because I got some weird fucking content on there, and you might be into it. I'm a mixed bag. New videos coming soon about the 3DS. We'll go into more detail on things like the PlayStation 1 emulation, Nintendo 64 emulation, homebrew ports of games, all of it, right here. I'll give you speculation, and all sorts of other weird forms of entertainment. And if you fuck with me, slap that red rectangle beneath the video. You know what it's for. I'm not gonna say it. You don't need to. But if you like what you see and hear, I'll be here. I might not upload frequently, but when I do, it'll be some goofy shit like this. Or maybe it won't be. But it'll be me, man. Turn off my fish filter in the background. Sorry, I have a spiny softshell turtle. And if you're into turtles and shit, I got videos about animals too. New spiny softshell turtle video coming soon. I need to update that care video because it's like 3 years old. I had a YouTube video on here that was kind of edgy, I guess you could say, in its subject matter. And the fucking YouTube fuckers deleted it. So I'm down like 70,000 views on my channel now. Took a hit. I'm a small guy, you know. But we gotta get back up. When life knocks you down, you just gotta keep on pushing, bruh. Until one day you're fucking dead.